Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is March 23rd, 2023. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, with high hopes. It is raining a little bit here today. The weather has been very moody, cloudy, and then it patches out a little bit, but looks like we're finally getting a little bit of rain coming through. We need it. um, I feel like that's a very Midwestern thing. I don't know. That's very like water cooler talk shit, right? Um, that being said, I'm doing pretty good. Um, I'm realizing I'm having like this high average of like having like one bummer day a week or something like that. Today kind of felt like that for a couple hours, and I was like, ew, gross. But we're working it out. We're doing good. We made it to the show. But I'd say we're doing pretty well. Food corner, it's been good. We had work give out a catered lunch. This was a Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. And it was a box lunch of either a turkey sandwich, and then they also had a roast beef sandwich. Then they had two wraps. There was a chicken salad wrap, and then there was a hummus wrap. Now, because I have the means, I was able to scam an extra one, so I was able to get two of the said ones that I saw. And I got a chicken salad wrap, which I would say was the best out of all of them. I wanted to try the hummus one, but I wanted to make sure there's meat. I'm a protein kind of guy when it comes to that. I want the meat. Give me the meat. Um, Not that you can't get protein without meat. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, vegans, vegetarians. I know. I'm sorry. Oops. Whoopsie. Um, but it was good. It came with like a macaroni salad, a little fruit. Both came with that, and they each had weird, like a different chip, which I thought was annoying. So it's like some would have this kind of chip, some would have that kind of chip. I cannot for the life. I had no one had pretzels. The chicken wrap had pretzels, and I was like, okay, cool, awesome. I like pretzels. The turkey sandwich had Lay's potato chips. I was like, whatever. They're just throwing chips in a box, maybe. I don't even know. But overall, it was good. I enjoyed it, and I'm glad that I was able to get another wing. I always try to get them. I always try to juice it, man. Because at the end of the day, a lot of times, a lot of jobs, they're just paying you in treats, and I'm very well aware of this. Okay, so if part of my little package is treats, I'm going to try to maximize my treats. So yeah. Oh wait, there's more food. There's more. I'm sorry. I've got more me news. More food corner. What the people really want. Let's see. I woke up today and chose violence, aka McDonald's, and I got a bacon egg and cheese biscuit. Man, I almost jammed it myself. I always have to like tell them what I want. It's like a special code, and if I crack it, I get that, and I don't get a bacon egg and cheese biscuit, which makes my stomach hurt even worse. Then I also got a sausage McMuffin, and then I also got an order of hotcakes and hash brown and a large Coke. That's right. I eat. I be eating, and this is only part one. I just began. Then I ate all that. It was yummy. Yum, yum, yum. They didn't mess it up. And then I got later at work, I ordered some Taco Bell because I was really wanting a crunch wrap. Every time someone shows a tutorial on like a Facebook reel or a TikTok or whatever, I always get that hankering for one. So I'm like, oh, you got me. So I ordered that, and then I wanted to try their little. It was actually bigger than I expected it to be, but it was like supposed to be a jalapeno cheese stuffed burrito of some kind. I'm sure I'm getting that wrong, but the way it was a whole ass burrito, and it was covered in cheese and it's supposed to have jalapenos on top. And the jalapenos on top really was selling me. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of like, American fake, Mexican cuisine that I'm looking for, okay? All right? Encrusted jalapenos and cheese encrusted jalapenos, That speaks to my soul. Needless to say, when I opened it up, it's huge. So I was like, whoa, wow, it's big. It's so big. And, but I was disappointed that there was no jalapenos on it. And I was like, maybe they were inside. I'm not gonna lie, I really didn't notice too much. It did have like a chipotle sauce that's pretty good or whatever. Chipotle sauce. Um, but yeah, overall that was fine. Crunchwrap was fine. I'm full and my stomach is rebelling. That's where the true violence is. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got for myself. Obviously, I know I do this for the clickers. Like they like to talk. They like to listen to my little food blogs. I feel like so that's for them. It's also for me. I like to talk about myself, right? You know, I'm a little vain. Sorry about it. Not really. But yeah, obviously the rest of this is gonna be news. I'm not gonna lie to you though. We're talking about a lot of school, and I'm not gonna lie. There's definitely some shooter news coming up, but not yet. But yeah, we can go ahead and get into it. Starting with the Associated Press, Los Angeles schools shut down as staff strike for better pay. So this is the teacher strike that you may or may not have been hearing about. That's been going on in LA. I believe it started on Tuesday. It's been a 3-day strike. And let's see, because it's labeled as a teacher strike, but it's really about the service workers, and the teachers are backing said service workers because they clearly realize that, like, look, like, one, we're not getting paid enough. You know what I mean? Like, we all deserve more pay, but you know, there are essentially all these service workers. So we're talking like custodians, we're talking lunch ladies, we're talking teachers' aides, we're talking sometimes like special needs students, teachers and stuff like that. I think sometimes they get bracketed into a different pay rate. But essentially, on average, it is said that they are making around $25,000. And that is an average. I've heard as low as $20,000. And I mean, we're essentially talking that there's some people who are literally like running on like $16 an hour type of wages. And that's insane. These are people who are living in, and when this, it always surprises me because I don't know, I'm a Midwesterner, so I don't sometimes get the scale, but they are in one of the richest states in the world, in one of the richest countries in the world, and LA has all this money running around in it, but yet we have this school system that is just paying their people on like scraps. It is really insane. I should have the name of the superintendent. Let me see if I can find it. Which I gotta say, I'm not a fan of this guy. Alberto M. Carvalho, who is the superintendent. Now, he's saying that, hey, look, I'm willing to negotiate with these guys. We have a rate. We want to give these guys, like, I think, like a 23% raise. They're essentially going to get a couple dollars over, you know, the span of, I think, a few years. But essentially, that's not enough. I mean, these people have not gotten a wage increase, like I think they were supposed to renegotiate their contract around 2020, but obviously then the pandemic hit. They're like, no, we can't. So it was kind of frozen. They had to be labeled as essential workers, do all of these kind of shit, do all of these, like, literally you're handling children. That's something I feel like it's so crazy. And sometimes people will mention, it's like, well, you know, how come these athletes make millions of dollars, but there's literally like people who are taking care of our children, sculpting our youth, and they're getting paid fucking scraps. And that's an age-old thing that hasn't changed. But sadly, this feels like a situation where, like, the administration here, in terms of, like, the school, like, they have the means to pay more. I was listening to, what was it, Chapo Trap House, and they had a episode where they literally interviewed and talked to a couple of teachers who were, you know, involving themselves in the strike, and why they were so supportive of it. And they were getting into some of the details where it's like, look, they have been hoarding money. They have over $5 billion with a B stored up for a rainy day. Typically, they usually have like around, I think, like $1 million or something like that. Like, there's a much lower need, but they've hoarded all this money, and where's it going? It's going nowhere. It's just sitting for, like, well, like I said, a rainy day at best. Where's this money gonna go, right? And essentially, this Carvalho guy is like, oh no, I'm trying to work with these guys. I'm trying to give these guys what they want, what they need, like, but they're being unreasonable. And it's like, no, dude, you're barely showing up to these meetings. You're lowballing these people who need the money. Like, don't get me wrong. I live on a very meager pay. Like, so the idea of making that kind of money is like, oh, okay, yeah, but you have to, I know my situation. I'm a single man. Like, I'm all right. Like, I can live on pretty much scraps. But when you have a family, when you're trying to raise like a family, it's you and, your partner, like, not to mention some kids, you cannot make this work. Like, it's not feasible, especially in a place like LA where the price of living is so high. So it's insane that you're really going to have this conversation like they're being unreasonable. Also, I think it's really rough because of how this is kind of unfolded. Obviously, the parents, the students, they're the ones who are taking the brunt of it too, having like 3 days off. Obviously, from a kid's perspective, you're like, yeah, cool, no school. But like from the parents' perspective, that's daycare. That's time. Like, we have work. Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean there's no school? Like, not to mention too, something that I kind of, it didn't dawn on me growing up, and then like looking back at it now, I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, like having the means of like having food at lunch, like sometimes that's the only good meal that some students get, you know what I mean? And that's sometimes something that's really not looked at. And now the schools in terms like have been open, but I can read a little bit here from the article. During the strike, about 150 of the district's more than 1,000 schools remain open with adult supervision but no instruction to give students somewhere to go. Dozens of libraries and parks, plus some grab-and-go spots for students to get lunches, also plan to be open to kids to lessen the strain on parents now scrambling to find care. Also, I did want to mention, if I can find it, yeah, okay, cool, that the SEIU, which is the Service Employees International Union, they are demanding a 30% pay bump and a $2 pay hour equity wage adjustment, which to me is not unreasonable. Whereas the superintendent's side has offered, I believe, like a 23%. And I think they offered like some kind of bonus to like teachers who, or staff that was there for like over a year, something like that. So yeah, to me, it's so simple. I'm sorry, it's just so simple. Pay the teachers what they're owed. Like this, what they're asking isn't even enough, in my opinion. Like this, it's a crazy thought. Like if you think an architect should make a lot of money, why shouldn't a teacher? Like I'll never understand that throughout all my life. Like, you know what I mean? Because I've been a student. I know I was a little hellball some days. You know what I mean? Like, I get how hard that strain can be, and the idea that they do it for so little, and not to mention that they have to put up. And I know I'm just thinking from like a teacher's perspective, but I should also be thinking from a cafeteria person's perspective. I should also be thinking from a custodian's perspective, because these are all people who are working and putting their time and effort into these kids. These bus drivers, like they should get a living fucking wage. You know, like it's simple to me. All right. Obviously, sorry for the rain. It's hitting the tin roof. Rest. Anyway, from ABC News, Denver school shooting suspect brought weapon to previous school, sources say. So this is a school shooting that took place this week. A student who was required to be patted down at the start of each school day allegedly shot and wounded two school administrators at East High School in Denver, authorities said. Austin Lyle, who's 17 years old, he fled on a Wednesday morning after the shooting. So they were going to pat him down. Also, I believe that apparently there was like a set routine, but it was like a different two administrators who were like patting him down. It's also not said. I think he had a violent interaction or something that is kind of labeled as from a previous school that he was at, and that is why they were like taking it seriously. But essentially he did have a weapon this time, and he wound up pulling out and shooting the two administrators. Fortunately, they are okay. Like they were wounded. Let's see. Lyle allegedly shot the school administrators as they patted him down in the school office area, which officials said is away from other students and staff. The injured faculty members were both hospitalized. Eric Sinclair remains in serious condition, and Gerald Mason has since been released from the hospital, according to the hospital and school district. So I'm glad they're okay. But sadly, Lyle, he ran after that. He ran into the woods, and he took his own life. And they found his body later on. Obviously, this whole situation is really sad. Devastating situation for obviously everyone involved, the whole school. I believe they're taking the rest of the week off, like, mental health to kind of, pause, recover. Also, the school has reinstated like armed guard, like armed police on the school property, premises, whatever. I get it. That's kind of like a knee jerk reaction to the situation, but it's understandable, especially if it does anything to alleviate, people's fears and stuff. I don't know. Obviously, this is really sad. This is not new. It's not new to this school even, but the school's obviously has had a lot going on too. But it's rough. It's hard. I do believe I've talked about this shit on before. I don't want to beat a dead horse here or anything like that. But like, I do think there are means to help fix these things, but they're just strides that like us as a country are never gonna want to work towards or walk to, really. Like, I think there's gonna be a faction of people who have lived through this shit, endured it, people who think about it and look at it and say, hey, maybe I don't need a fucking gun or whatever. But like, there are some people who say no, like, this is something that's embedded into us as Americans, our lifestyle, and we should be allowed to have access to them no matter what. So yeah, it is what it is sometimes. No, but we're staying in school and we're talking about shootings at the schools. Bang, bang. Yeah, there's more. Sorry. That was a terrible little song I did. From ABC News. Parents of Michigan high school shooter Ethan Crumbley will go to trial. Judges rule. So this is a bit of an offshoot of an update, I guess. But we did cover another shooting that took place last year, November. It was a mass shooting at Oxford High. 4 people were killed. But Ethan's parents, Jennifer and James, have now been, put on trial. They've pleaded not guilty to 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter in connection to the event. Now, they've been implicated in this because of a situation where it was their firearm that was used. It was a semi-automatic. It was James, to be exact. His semi-automatic handgun that was used to kill 4 students and injure several others. And they're accused of making the gun accessible and failing to recognize warning signs. And I'd even go as far as to say that I don't want to say they encouraged it, but it was almost like their way of like trying to talk him down with some like massage the behavior. These are my words on that, but there was a situation where he was literally caught with, I believe, like ammunition, and after this all takes place, essentially the mom's like, LOL, you can't get caught with this kind of stuff, son. Hold on, let me read it. Days before the shooting, a teacher allegedly saw Ethan Crumbley researching ammunition in class, and the school contacted his parents, but they didn't respond, according to prosecutors. But Jennifer Crumbley did text her son, writing, LOL, I'm not mad at you. You have to learn not to get caught, according to prosecutors. That kind of behavior just isn't acceptable. Like, I understand you're dealing with a quote-unquote handful. Like, your son is clearly doing a lot. He's acting out or whatever you want to call it. and you're trying to curb this behavior however you can, and you're trying to play a little bit of good cop, whatever. Look, I've watched Law and Order. I understand maybe you're trying to do this tactic, but that's not the move. It's just not the move. Like, also, I think there's a situation too where I think they wanted them to take him home, and they didn't, which I think wound up like escalating the situation. So I do think there is some onus on the parents here, but I don't know. Sorry if you heard me peeling off a lighter wrapper. But yeah, I mean, we're definitely gonna cover more of the trial. They do kind of go through a little bit more of the play-by-play. I won't belabor that for you guys. But we can move along. We've made it out of school. Actually, on that, I'm going to take a little bit of a pre-break before the main break. All right, we're back. Ooh. All right, from Al Jazeera. Uganda's new anti-homosexuality law bans identification as LGBTQ. Law could be the first to criminalize identifying as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer. Rights Watch. This is a story that honestly turns my fucking stomach, y'all. I gotta tell you, like, I was initially slating to cover it like last week, and I just didn't. Like, I literally was like, there's other things I can cover. This shit fucking sucks, and I just didn't. But I heard more about it, and I heard Parliament actually passed it, which I sadly wasn't surprised. Just because I've been learning that Uganda's not alone in this in Africa. More than 30 African countries, including Uganda, have already banned same-sex relationships. Now, this law is definitely, showing that they take it there, in some situations leading up to, like, the penalty of death. There's, like, stipulations where it's, like, if you spread HIV, or there's, like, a potential intent to spread, then, like, that is, like, a punishable by death, potentially. If you're like, if it's a minor, but like you're under the age of 18, any kind of like homosexuality or anything like that, you potentially could be killed. Any kind of like expressing of homosexual activities or intent, like you can literally get jammed up by the law. To me, it's disgusting. It makes me so upset. See, let's keep scrolling here. The ayes have it. Parliamentary Speaker Anita Annette Among said the final vote, adding that the bill will be passed in record time. Like, they were so happy about it. Like, there's a lot of this Christian veneer that they have about this whole situation, where they feel like, and it's not new. This is why I tell people, like, you have to understand that there's so many chunks of the world that you have to start looking at, like, this is a socially conservative world that we live in. Like, that's a society to me. Like, we like to, like, really feel like we're, like, kind of making great strides or whatever, but we get so bogged down in this quote unquote, usually what I would call tradition. But really, it's like this Christianity kind of idea that, like, as long as we stick to whatever the good book says, we're doing good and we're great people. And, like, capitalism is great. Like, all these things winds up playing out. And it's very frustrating to see that you have these pockets of places that get so wrapped up in these kind of topics and culture wars that they say, oh, we need to ban this way of life. You just can't be this way. If you are this way, we're going to punish you for it. Like, it leads to the craziest situations. I've heard stories of people, like, being lured out to places, and, like, you think you're going on a date with someone, you think you're gonna have a good time or whatever, but then you wind up getting jumped, beaten, shook down for your money, and blackmailed for being who you are. And they'll say, we'll turn you in for this. We'll turn you in for homosexual activity. Because obviously I'm not gay. I just wanted to catch you. And it's looked at as like you're doing a favor to this administration. And let's see, the legislation will now be sent to President Yaroui Museveni to be signed into law. Now he hasn't commented. He hasn't commented on the current legislation, but he has been very anti LGBTQ rights. Um, he signed laws in like 2013 that were already like, against LGBTQ people. He's been condemned by he's been condemned before a domestic court struck it down on procedural grounds. Nevertheless, the 78-year-old leader has consistently signaled he does not view the issue as a priority and would prefer to maintain good relations with Western donors and investors. So, AKA, this is perfect, right? Because this literally plays like, look, this is what my parliament wants. This is what my government wants. All I'm doing is signing it into action. So, thumbs up. Like, and obviously, from the title, whatever, Human Rights Watch has been like, no, this is very bad. This is not okay. Like, if it is consensual same-sex activity between adults, this should be totally fine. But once again, I mean, they're talking like, yeah, we're saving the children, we're doing what's right by God. And at least in terms of like the Christian thing, because of my own personal background, like, I get how some people can buy it, because like when you look back at the Old Testament, it has this like draconian ass fucking aspect to it, where it's like, oh my God, we lived in Sodom and Gomorrah. This was a place where like all this stuff happened, and like it's these types of people that ruined our whole city, and God had to strike it down. And like if we allow these people to live in our city and do these things, then we're just as bad. We're enabling the sin. And it's like this narrative just is so fire catching to people. I hate it. It makes me so upset. Because it's one of those things where when I grew up learning it, I always then said, okay, but let's go to the New Testament, right? Where we talk about all the nice things that Jesus did, and through him, like, all this is new and clean and blah, 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 blah. So, like, all right, we meet in the middle here and say, yeah, we don't agree with this, but inevitably, it's all right. People are people. We're going to get through, and let's try to be fishers of men. That's what we're going to do. We're going to live by action, be good people, and people will change, and then it'll be all great, and we'll all go to heaven. That's how I viewed it. And, I mean, hey, I'm an excommunicado kind of guy, so whatever. But, I think this shit is so out of fucking pocket. It's a shame to me that in Uganda, like, they're trying to be like a flagship about it, almost, it feels like they're trying to like set a standard here, and it's like, no, like, this isn't okay. This is not the kind of headlines you want to make, Chief. I don't know. All right, we got one more thing, and yes, I am gonna double tap my break. I'm being so lazy. I'm the worst newsy. Honestly, as much as I want to be, I know I'd be a terrible town crier. But it would be a vibe. I've been thinking about medieval shit lately. Listening to some history of what is it? Britain? Yeah. Yeah, the old governor. The old lords and lasses. I don't know. My accents are terrible. I know, I'm sorry. Alright. Alright, macaroons. We got one more to go. And I am I'm keeping it local. We're talking about some Ohio news. From NBC. Ohio man nearly loses an arm in zebra attack at farm. Officials initially thought the zebra tore the 72-year-old victim's arm off, but doctors were able to save it. He's in the hospital and has undergone surgery. Now, I gotta say, right off the bat, real ones know that I farmed this story off of Last Podcast on the Left, their side stories. But I gotta say, they farmed Ohio. They've been farming Ohio a little bit, so it's only right that a local Ohio podcaster farms them. I feel like that's fair and that's right. I'm a fan anyway, so it's all good. Um, that being said, this story is crazy to me. Like, yet again, I am bringing you another story of another animal in Ohio just being crazy. Now, granted, I gotta say, there's some details here. Also, this wasn't illegal, by the way. The cocaine cat, the serval, that was technically illegal. We're like, okay, it's all right. We're just gonna adopt him and put him in a zoo. Oh, so cute, so cute. Cocaine free now. This was a Ohio farm owner, and they owned a group of zebras. I think it's like about six or something like that. Oh gosh, that's a burp. I'm sorry. I normally get to turn away there, but it just came out of me. Um, sorry. Deputies with the Pickaway County Sheriff's Office found a 72-year-old man on the ground when they responded to a call about an animal bite around 5:30 p.m. Sunday in Circleville, about 30 miles away, or about 30 miles south of Columbus. The owner had been burning brush when he turned his back and a zebra attacked him. He said there were 6 to 7 zebras in a fenced-in area on the property. Now, I'll just keep reading. It's just better if the article tells it, I think. An officer positioned a cruiser in an attempt to block the zebras from the victim, but a very hostile, large male zebra charged the driver's side door of the vehicle, according to the incident report. The officer scared away the zebras using the car's horn and sirens. The victim was found with a hemorrhage to his right arm below the elbow and was taken away by ambulance. Now, yada yada here a little bit. The deputies were tending to the victim, but the zebra, the male one, kept trying to approach the EMS and the victim, and he was still like in this hostile state. They say in the article that he was quote unquote protective of the females, but I think the boys from Last Pod said it best. Like, I think he was just like, he might have been a little in heat, he might have been a little rowdy. You're fucking with his pack, like, nah, like, I'm gonna bite again. Now, typically though, once again, I have to state, zebras are not illegal here in the situation one, because Ohio, they do kind of like their exotic animals. Let's just be real here. We have some corn, we have some animals. You've been to a reptile a little convention, you'll see it. You'll know. But that being said, they did wind up having to put down the zebra. They did get permission from the family to do so. That was actually like explicitly said. I think like the old man was like, shoot him. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's really sad. We hate to hear that. But yeah, it looks like they were able to, like I said, save the 72-year-old man's arm. So that's good. Granted, I'm not looking up pictures for that shit. I don't know if they're out there. I'm okay. But Godspeed to him. Hopefully that doesn't happen again, because that would be fucking terrible. But yeah, that's all we got. I'll keep you a little bit longer, but shout out for sticking around for this long. You're awesome. I love you. You're great. But I gotta shill now. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. If you would like to become a newsie, you get bonus content. I do an extra episode every week. Also, you get a hot link to the Discord where I post some of my food stuff, do a little bit of chatter, banter. It's a nice little community thing I'm trying to work on. It's also free. Gotta say that for the Discord, though. But that's a little quick hot link. But also, for the free way to hit me up, also you get a shout out. You can, being a newsie, once a month, I do a little newsie roll call, and you can plug some stuff. So that's another thing. Sorry. Gotta give you the full spread there, whole pamphlet. But free way to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. And I'm also on Facebook. I'm also on Twitter. So yeah. Hopefully I don't get banned. I don't know. I post a lot of memes. Sorry. Not sorry. Mark. All right, that's all I got. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully, I see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye bye. Mwah.